His thought in a few steps. His remarkable lifespan actually enabled Bediüzzaman to participate and respond some of the most important and most effective events of the 20th century, which were worldwide important. And throughout his life, even though a lot of things are changed, we see that he protected the dignity of his faithful and scholarly position and positive action. Finally, in the meaning of sincere faith service, remained as his most powerful legacy to us. In this presentation, I will follow 3 stages actually. Initially, I will analyze the similarities and differences between pacifism, civil disobedience, and positive action. Then I will investigate Bediüzzaman's ideas and thoughts on material and spiritual jihad in relation to positive action. And actually, thanks to presenter Mr. Mikhail, because he went to coexistence, Bediüzzaman mentions constructive action, which also has the implications of positive action, to be in good relationship with our neighbors and people of other faiths. So I omit that part from my presentation. And also, all of the presenters actually had good amount of examples that helped me to focus on different sections of my presentation. And finally, I will conclude with the importance of pure justice in the positive action for Bediüzzaman's thought and ethics. Pacifism, to start, is often described as a complete rejection of participation in violent acts, in military events, or even political events. Pacifism may involve in complete rejection of violence, even if one severely is attacked. Even though Bediüzzaman Said Nursi has been criticized as a pacifist for not being involved in violent activism or not supporting aggressive revolts organized by his fellow Muslims against non-Islamic or secular currents, it is more accurate to consider him as an activist who did not resort to violence. He did not support violent revolts against the government, and actually he tried very hard to stop them. And if we think about his life, particularly he attended the World War, and after the World War starts a very secular government, and here are the Muslims are persecuted, and some of them are really willing to revolt against this newly establishing government to protect their religious rights. But Bediüzzaman is not involving, plus he is trying very hard to stop them. So there are very strong accusations towards Bediüzzaman saying that you are a pacifist. So you're staying passive, you're not even responding, you're not reacting. But this is not very true that we actually see in his life, that he took a different way of action, and that he named it as a positive action. And we will analyze it, inshallah. And moving to civil disobedience, it has actually many different forms. Some versions are, they stay away, they're similar to pacifism in a way. And sometimes even these terms are used simultaneously. Some versions of civil disobedience include actually violence. They allow it. But in general, they disagree violent activities. They stay away from violence. And we can describe it as an organized action to break any unjust law by peaceful means. Peaceful walks, vigils, or sittings are some examples to civil disobedience. Even though Gandhi is the first name to be remembered in mention of civil disobedience, the theory of civil disobedience actually belongs to Henry David Thoreau. He's an American. Mahatma Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr. mentioned their reading of Thoreau's article of civil disobedience in their works, and the ways Thoreau influenced them. They're really at heart of their movements, and the way that Gandhi and Martin Luther King are the actions they build are deeply influenced by Thoreau's ideas. Thoreau definitely have a great impact on their nonviolent and civil disobedience movements. In his famous and highly influential article, it's entitled actually Civil Disobedience, Thoreau asks, can there be a government in which majorities do not virtually decide right and wrong, but conscience? He argues the necessity of a higher law than civil law, the law of conscience. For him, if these laws are in conflict, civil law and one's law of conscience, Thoreau argues that the individual should follow the voice of God within him, which is his conscience, rather than the civil law. Nursi's ideas of the freedom of conscience actually resonates with Thoreau's thoughts. Nursi sees freedom of conscience as the one's most basic right. He says, I can live without bread, but I cannot live without my freedom. So freedom of conscience, freedom of expression, any type of freedom is so crucial for him. Thoreau writes that best government is the one governs the least. Nursi writes, all forms of leadership, including political versions, ought to be in the form of servanthood. Servant to people, actually, servant to civils. Nursi writes, he builds these ideas actually on a hadith. He writes, whereas a hadith, which is a constitution of Islam, says, the ruler of a society is the one who serves its people. That is, Nursi explains, if a government position is a rulership, that is not a presidency, but servanthood to people. Democracy and freedom of conscience are based on this principle of Islam. Thoreau and Nursi seem to agree on many matters, such as importance of expression and personal freedom before despot and tyrant governments or laws, vitality of freedom of conscience, efficient application of justice, and many similar topics. These agreements definitely propose a call for researchers, because civil disobedience is a very wide movement that we actually see many followers around the world. Through Gandhi and Martin Luther King, and definitely Bediüzzaman, Said Nursi are significant values of their times and remarkable examples for us. Gandhi's life had been a great example of applied civil disobedience to unjust rulers. His peaceful breaking of the unjust laws of British colonial government on salt production is well remembered. Along with 78 people, Gandhi walked about 24 miles to a seashore where he produced salt by boiling seawater and non-violently broke the law. There was a very heavy tax on salt production. So simply to break the law, he walked to a seashore and boiled the water and produced the salt, broke the law without any harmful action. Gandhi effectively put Thoreau's theories in practice. Consequently, civil disobedience is well accepted and practiced by many people around the world today. Said Nursi's positive action have strong resemblances with civil disobedience. At the first glance, we can see that Nursi is peaceful, he's not harming, he's not talking violently, so they have quite a lot of resemblances. Most importantly, they both stand for eradication of injustices, tyrannies, harms, wrongs, and similar. They do not have any problem with the wrongdoers and are not targeting to eradicate them. This is so critical. They don't have any problem with peoples, but with the ideas, with the actually wrongs themselves. So they, particularly Nursi talks about hakika, the truth, and he defends the truth. They both, Nursi and Gandhi in the sense, encourage peaceful means and stay away from wrong acts and conversations. These similarities can be extended. Civil disobedience and positive action also have important differences, such as Nursi's positive action is not a political theory at heart. It is applied in any realm of one's life, including political injustices. However, it is not limited only with political or governmental struggles. In this sense, it is possible to consider civil disobedience more of a political theory and positive action as an ethical position encompassing one's entire life. Another difference is that Gandhi envisioned a world in which governments, police forces, and even armies would be unarmed and non-violent. He mentions a non-violent army which would engage in constructive activities. In this sense, Gandhi's stance, in comparison to Nursi's positive action, appears to be more idealist. Nursi, in this sense, is more of a realist because he sees that he separates positive action as internal and external. He mentions that force should not be employed internally. However, external aggression may be met with force. In the face of law requiring the wearing of hat, for instance, Nursi breaks the law by refusing to wear a hat. At the early years of the Republic Turkey, there was this rule that all the individuals needed to wear hats. So he broke the law by just refusing to wear hats. And he even said, even the logo of the symposium, we see his turban cloth. And he said this turban would only leave my body with my head together. So he strongly refused. However, he allowed his students to wear it. So we see here a peaceful but a very strong position. Some of his students, particularly in official positions, they wore it. And he said that by wearing it, they are not being non-Muslims. However, he strongly refused. And quite a good amount of his students actually didn't wear the hat. But these very same students who did not wear the hat and refused to wear it, they were unjustly put in jails. They were arrested, and in not very friendly ways, they were put in jails with false accusations. However, they peacefully defended themselves at courts, but did not fight, rebel, or involve in any action that would harm public order. They did not they did not say that you can't arrest me. They were okay, like if you came to arrest me, okay, arrest me. They got to jail. They stay in jail sometimes for months and years. And when the time comes at the courts, they defended themselves. Again, they were put back into jails. Again, they defended themselves. So patiently, so truthfully, they defended and they waited. So here is the point that they did not harm the public order. And because here the force was coming internally, they did not use any force. On the other hand, we see Nursi attending the First World War. He was living in a land by then, which was attacked by foreign forces. And at the time, he was actually a madrasa teacher, professor to say. Alone, he took his students to actually attend the war. Along with his students, he helped the defense of Eastern Ottoman borders and the Northern Caucasian front against Armenian and Russian forces, known as Keçe Külahlılar, a very famous group. Because of the special caps they wore, they would wear these white caps, and in the Northern Caucasus, in the white snowlands, the enemy wouldn't see them. So they were very, very successful. Nursi and his students mostly helped protect innocent villagers, protected children, women, and elderly. Nursi continued to train his students at possible occasions and composition of his initial volume of exegesis entitled Isharatul Icaz, Sign of Miraculousness, during this wartime. Here I will go that in the post-war period, actually, when the caliphate was aborted and harsh religious restrictions started, Nursi proposed his stance again as a positive action, even though he just attended the war. This time he stayed silent because that was internal. He again changed his position. When the force comes from external, he is able to use the force. But here is the distinction: when the disruption or the conflict is internal, he uses positive action. And again, as we said, he did not attend any of the rebellious actions internally. And here comes actually his interpretation of jihad has a very close relation with his understanding and the thought of positive action. Because he then says that his understanding of jihad has a moral approach because he says that it's the struggle against the soul and the nafs and its desires, and against the Satans among jinn and man, to deliver them from sin and bad morals, to save the heart and spirit from external perdition. In this regard, a great contribution of Bediüzzaman is his definition of manevi jihad, non-material jihad, which is the struggle against aggressive atheism and irreligion. And here we say that, actually here is another quote that Nursi explains positive action as manevi jihad. He defines that patience and silent struggle to save and strengthen the belief in God and the other truths by religion, other truths of religion by peaceful means, primarily with the written word. So it's manevi jihad and non-involvement in politics. This is his definition of positive action. And from here, actually, our time is, of course, running very fast. I just want to mention the importance of pure justice in the Bediüzzaman Said Nursi's thought, and I have no time to go in details. But the importance is that Bediüzzaman says that right is right. Every individual has their own right, and for the sake of universal goodness, or for the sake of all, no individual's right can be committed. So when we talk of positive action, when we are doing positive action, actually, the simplest meaning that I can express today is that it's building without harming. It's doing good without doing any wrong. And it's very careful action that we should not harm anyone with our actions, words, or anything. And it's very important that actually really understand well what adalet-i mahza, pure justice is, because we should be careful about every individual's rights. And this is the last words. Thank you.